The night was supposed to be a quiet celebration between sisters, but what happened at that cabin turned into the most talked-about scandal the town had ever seen. And no one, not even the bride, escaped the fallout. Stay till the end of this story, you won't believe how deep the betrayal goes. And if you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Samantha had always been the responsible sister. The one who showed up early, remembered birthdays, and stayed behind to clean up while others were still partying. But ever since her younger sister, Chloe, announced her engagement, Sam had taken it upon herself to make the whole wedding journey unforgettable. They'd been close their whole lives. Despite the 5-year age gap, Sam and Chloe shared everything. Secrets whispered under the covers growing up, matching Halloween costumes, even crushes in high school. Helping her plan the wedding wasn't just a duty. It was a chance to reconnect. Sam dove headfirst into every detail: venue tours, dessert tastings, invitation designs. But what excited her most was the bachelorette party. Chloe didn't want some over-the-top Vegas blowout or cringeworthy party games. She wanted something simple and intimate, just her closest girlfriends, away from the noise, in a place that meant something. So Sam suggested their family's old lake cabin up in Vermont. Quiet, private, a place soaked in childhood memories. The plan was low-key. 10 women, 1 night, just music, stories, drinks, and laughter. Chloe loved it, said it was perfect. No drama, no danger. Just real connection with the people who mattered most. Sam took charge like she always did, organizing decorations, prepping snacks, even making personalized gift bags with throwback photos. Everyone invited confirmed they were coming. Cousins, childhood besties, a couple of college roommates. The whole thing felt like a heartfelt tribute to sisterhood. There was only one person who didn't seem thrilled: Sam's husband, Ryan. When she first mentioned the trip, Ryan immediately asked questions. Who's going? Why so far out? Why no guys at all? Sam laughed it off, thinking he was just being overly cautious. It's a girls-only night, she told him. It's about bonding, not partying. Ryan didn't argue, but something about the way he quietly nodded made her pause. They'd had past arguments about boundaries, situations with friends that got out of control, moments that left trust a little bruised. But this time, she promised him it'd be different. Respectful. He believed her, or at least he wanted to. When the day came, the women met in front of Sam's house, buzzing with excitement. They wore matching flannel shirts, held iced coffees, and posed for selfies before piling into the cars. Chloe jumped into Sam's SUV, grinning from ear to ear. This is going to be one of the best nights of my life, she said. Sam smiled as she started the engine, not realizing just how true that would be, and not in the way any of them imagined. What happened next would unravel everything. The drive up to the cabin was filled with music and chatter. Chloe played a playlist of early 2000s throwbacks while the women sang along, windows down, arms waving. For most of them, this was the first time they'd been away from work, kids, and partners in months. Felt like freedom. When they arrived, the cabin was even better than they remembered. Surrounded by trees, just a few steps from a quiet lake, it felt completely cut off from the world. No cell reception, no distractions, just them. Sam had arrived a few hours earlier to set everything up. Fairy lights hung across the porch. Charcuterie boards and chilled wine waited inside. The living room was cozy with blankets, candles, and framed photos from Chloe's childhood lining the walls. Everyone settled in quickly. The early part of the night was exactly as planned. Light drinks, old stories, laughter that echoed through the cabin. They played harmless games, shared embarrassing teenage moments, and toasted to Chloe's future. But around 10 p.m., things shifted. A surprise Sam hadn't mentioned to Ryan or anyone really walked through the door. 2 men, both hired as private entertainers, stepped into the room wearing firefighter costumes and carrying speakers. Chloe burst out laughing. A few women cheered. Sam looked both amused and slightly nervous. It's just for fun, she said. 5-minute performance, that's it. No one objected. What started as innocent fun quickly took on a different tone. The performers were flirtatious, The music got louder, and the wine kept flowing. One of the girls, Heather, offered shots. Another found an old Bluetooth speaker and connected a more upbeat playlist. Someone jokingly said, "Tonight doesn't count. It's Chloe's last weekend as a free woman." The performers didn't leave after 5 minutes, or even 30. They stayed, talking, dancing, blending into the group like guests. More drinks, more laughter, and slowly boundaries blurred. Sam noticed one of the dancers flirting with Beth, a married mom of 3. Another was giving Anna a lap dance in the corner. Chloe? She was in the center of it all. Laughing, dancing, clearly tipsy, her veil bouncing as she moved. But the moment that would change everything happened when Sam, holding a glass of wine, walked past the hallway, pulling one of the men by the arm toward a bedroom. She thought no one saw. She was wrong. The next morning, the women were tired but cheerful. A few were hungover. Everyone helped clean, laughed about the night, and piled into the cars like it had been just another fun girls' trip. On the way back, they texted photos to their group chat and joked about needing a nap before the rehearsal dinner. Sam walked into her home to find Ryan in the kitchen, making coffee like usual. He asked her how it went. Calm, measured. She smiled, hugged him, and replied, "Just like we planned. Nothing crazy. Just us." Ryan looked into her eyes. Something in his chest tightened, but he nodded. For a moment, it seemed like nothing was wrong. But 3 days later, everything unraveled. Ryan was sitting at work, staring at his screen when a message popped up from his friend, Chris, married to one of the women who'd gone to the cabin. "Bro, you need to see this. Now." A link followed. Ryan clicked. The video opened with loud music, dim lights, and Chloe dancing in the living room, with one of the dancers, shirtless. Sam appeared seconds later, laughing, holding a drink, then disappearing down the hall with another man. The video was titled, "The Girls' Weekend That Wasn't So Innocent." Ryan froze. He played it again, zoomed in, paused, played it a third time. There was no doubt. And just like that, the story Sam had told him, about gossip, wine, and a peaceful girls' night, collapsed under the weight of the truth. Ryan couldn't think straight. The video played in a loop on his screen, each frame slicing deeper than the last. Sam's laugh, her hand on another man's arm, the bedroom door closing behind them. He barely remembered shutting his laptop. He grabbed his keys, walked out of the office without saying a word, and got into his car. The drive home felt like a blur. His hands shook on the wheel, his jaw locked tight. When he stepped inside the house, Sam was sitting at the kitchen island, sipping from a water bottle, scrolling through her phone like it was any other afternoon. She smiled when she saw him. "Hey, you're home early." Ryan didn't say a word. He pulled out his phone, placed it on the counter, and tapped play. Sam's expression shifted instantly. Her smile fell. Her eyes darted to the screen, then to his face. "Ryan, He raised his hand to cut her off. His voice was low, flat. "I saw everything, from beginning to end. And before you even try to explain, just know this, you lied. You looked me in the eye and lied." She reached for his arm. "Please, it wasn't." He pulled back. "Don't touch me." Sam's mouth opened like she was about to say something else, but nothing came out. Ryan's face was blank, unreadable, like someone who had just stepped away from a fire, skin scorched but calm. "You need to leave," he said. Her eyes widened. "Wait, Ryan, please. Can we just talk about this? You can come back for your stuff later. Right now, you leave with what you're wearing." Sam stood frozen. "I didn't mean to hurt you." He turned his back and walked away. And that was it. She left in silence, stepping out the front door of the home they had built together, without her shoes, her phone, or even her purse. Later that night, Ryan packed his own bags. He couldn't stay in that house anymore. The kitchen, the couch, the hallway, they all felt contaminated now. Every corner whispered a lie. He left behind everything. Furniture, framed photos, even the dog leash by the door. The only thing he took with him was a piece of paper and a pen. He wrote a single note and left it on the dining table where Sam used to place fresh flowers every Sunday morning. "You ruined our story for something that lasted one night, but that night will live in people's memories forever." Then he walked out the door. By the next day, the town of Willow Creek had seen the video. And not just a few people. Everyone. The clip had leaked from one private group chat to another, then spread like wildfire across social media, neighborhood pages, even church group texts. What started as one link became a chain reaction. The video made it painfully easy to recognize who was who. Names were whispered. Faces were tagged. The damage was immediate. Chris kicked his wife, Heather, out of the house within hours. Julia came home from work to find her suitcase waiting on the porch. Beth's husband didn't even raise his voice. He just showed her the video and walked out the door. Some of the men were angry. Others were just done. Kids came home from school with questions. Why is mom crying? Why are people laughing at me? One teacher reported that 3 students sat silently at recess, staring at the ground, refusing to talk. Parents began calling the principal, demanding their children not be seated near those kids. Willow Creek, a place where everyone knew each other's birthdays, high school sports records, and family trees, was no longer the friendly small town. It was now just one thing: the town of the bachelorette party. Within 24 hours, Willow Creek transformed. Restaurants that once buzzed with weekend brunches sat half-empty. Parents changed pickup schedules to avoid crossing paths. Some women involved in the bachelorette party were asked, politely but firmly, to step back from local volunteer roles, church committees, PTA boards. Even those not directly part of the scandal felt its sting. Everyone had an opinion. Some whispered that it was just one bad night. Others called it a disgrace. But the truth didn't change. The video was everywhere, and people recognized the women in it. And the worst part? No one knew how the video even got out. The women had used a private group chat to plan the party, a safe space to coordinate carpooling, snacks, decorations. Now, that same group chat turned into a war room. At 3:12 a.m., Sam sent the message that had been sitting in her mind for days. "Does anyone know who filmed it?" No one replied right away. 5 minutes passed. Then Claire responded. "It had to be one of the dancers. I didn't see any of us recording." Heather added, "We were too distracted. I think they did it without us noticing." Anna's message came fast and furious. "You think? They recorded it and leaked it. This was a setup." Julia chimed in with a calmer tone. "Let's not jump to conclusions. We don't know anything for sure. We just need to figure it out." But deep down, they all knew it wouldn't matter. The damage had already been done. The video was out. The town had watched it. Their names were linked to it permanently. Sam sat on her bed staring at the screen, reading each message in silence. Then she typed her final message. "Figuring it out won't bring back my marriage. I messed up, and I can't undo that." And with that, she left the group. 2 others followed seconds later. The rest kept talking, desperate to find someone to blame. A scapegoat, a loophole, anything to shift the weight of the shame off their own shoulders. But nothing could erase what had already happened. Not the tears, not the apologies, not even silence. Meanwhile, the Bennett family, Chloe and Sam's parents, were reeling. Their father, Richard Bennett, once a respected school board member, avoided the grocery store. Friends he'd known for decades now crossed the street when they saw him coming. Their mother, Linda, stopped going out altogether. She closed the curtains, stopped answering the phone. She refused to talk to anyone, even family. Eventually, Richard did something no one expected. He recorded a short video of his own, standing alone in his backyard. His voice cracked, but he spoke clearly. "My daughters were raised with values. What happened does not reflect what we taught them. I do not support what they did. I'm deeply ashamed." The video went viral in town group chats. Some people praised him for owning it. Others said it was too little, too late. A few called it damage control. But no matter how sincere his words were, they couldn't change what people had already seen. Willow Creek wasn't just judging the women anymore. It was judging the entire family name. And as for Chloe, the bride, her wedding was still scheduled for Saturday. But the groom hadn't answered her calls in 2 days. 3 days before the wedding, Chloe sat alone in her childhood bedroom, the same room where she and Sam had once whispered secrets and dreamed of growing up. But now the room felt haunted. Her fiancé, Adam, hadn't spoken to her since the video surfaced. She'd tried everything. Texts, calls, even a handwritten letter she slipped under his door. No response. Her bridal gown still hung in the corner of the room. Untouched. Perfect. Pointless. The silence was louder than any scream. When her phone finally buzzed on Thursday afternoon, her breath caught. But it wasn't Adam. It was his sister, Lauren. "Hey, just so you're not blindsided, Adam's not going through with the wedding. He said to tell you he wishes things had been different." That was it. No explanation. No confrontation. Just a quiet, decisive end. Chloe sank to the floor and cried. Not the loud kind, but the kind that comes from knowing you've lost something you can't fix. The rehearsal dinner was canceled. The wedding planner called to confirm there would be no ceremony. Guests received emails titled, "Change of Plans." Vendors were told to stop all preparations. What was supposed to be the happiest day of her life turned into a hollow weekend spent fielding questions from confused friends and returning unopened wedding gifts. Meanwhile, the rest of the women involved were facing their own fallout. Beth's husband filed for full custody of their kids. Julia moved in with her sister after her husband changed the locks. Anna's in-laws pulled financial support for their mortgage, saying they didn't want their name attached to disgrace. The community was ruthless. It wasn't just about a video anymore, it was about public trust, social image, and, for many, survival. Jobs were affected. Promotions were pulled. Even church pews became battlegrounds. People began distancing themselves from the Cabin 10, as they were now mockingly called online. A fake Yelp page even appeared under the title, "The Real Housewives of Willow Creek, Season 1. No one dared admit they watched the video more than once. But everyone had. Then, weeks later, the final blow landed. A letter arrived at Sam's new apartment. Small, empty, barely furnished. She had moved out of the house Ryan and she once shared. She was sleeping on a mattress on the floor and living off frozen dinners. It was a formal envelope, sealed with a law firm's logo. Ryan had filed for divorce. She sat staring at the document for a long time before opening it. Her hands trembled, not out of surprise but finality. She had known this was coming. Still, it hurt like fresh betrayal. But what she didn't expect was what came next. A week later, on the morning of the scheduled court appearance, Ryan walked in. Hair shorter, eyes tired. A man who looked like he'd aged 10 years in 2 months. He didn't say a word. Sam stood when he entered, her mouth parting to speak. But Ryan never looked her way. He walked straight to the table, signed the documents in silence, and left the courtroom without glancing back. That moment broke something in her, because that's when she realized, regret doesn't bring people back. Love doesn't always survive shame. And forgiveness? Sometimes it never shows up. Time moved on, but Willow Creek never really did. Even months later, people still whispered about the party at the lake cabin. The graffiti on the welcome sign, "Home of the Bachelorette Scandal," was cleaned off twice, only to reappear again by morning. Eventually, the town just left it, like a scar it didn't want but couldn't cover. Tourists stopped coming. Business at the coffee shop dropped. A real estate agent admitted clients were hesitant to move to that place with the video. Some parents quietly pulled their kids from school, transferring them to nearby districts. Local events saw lower attendance. The town's rhythm, once familiar and warm, now felt fractured. People changed their behavior, their routines, even their names. 2 of the women, Julia and Heather, filed legal requests to revert to their maiden names. Beth's family moved out of state entirely, hoping to start over where no one knew her face. And Sam? She tried applying for jobs in nearby cities. But every time someone Googled her full name, the air in the room shifted. She'd catch the glance, the awkward smile, the subtle change in tone. One employer said, "We're going in a different direction." Before even finishing her interview, she thought about moving to another state, even changed her hair. But the internet doesn't forget, and neither do small towns. Chloe deleted every social media account, took down all her wedding content, and returned her gown to the store in silence. She started therapy and began planning a move to the West Coast. A fresh start. But every attempt to run into the future was yanked back by that night. Because this wasn't just a mistake. It had become a legacy. As for Sam's parents, Richard and Linda, their world got smaller. Richard rarely left home. But when he did, he walked fast, eyes down, like a man carrying invisible weight. Church, no one sat next to them anymore. And Linda had stopped opening the curtains altogether. One day, a neighbor left a small pot of flowers on their doorstep. No card, just a quiet act of kindness. It was the only gesture they'd received in weeks. Sam often sat alone at night, replaying it all. Not just the moment in the video, but the lead-up, the choices, the laughter she thought was harmless, and the lie she told when she hugged Ryan and said, "It was just us," because that's what hurt the most. Not just that she betrayed him, but that she smiled while doing it. The video faded from social media eventually, buried under newer scandals and gossip. But in Willow Creek, it lived on, in glances, in empty pews, in the names that slowly disappeared from holiday card lists. Sam never remarried. Ryan did 2 years later. A small wedding, no bachelor party, no drama, just family and vows whispered under a white tent. He never mentioned Sam again. And the cabin? It was sold quietly to an out-of-town buyer. But the locals still point it out when they drive by. "That's the place," they say. "That's where everything fell apart." And just like that, one night became a story no one could stop telling.